Hello, Alyssa. I just wanted to record my comments for you today. And looking at your story, your photo story in 6, I wanted to mention to you that I really appreciate your work and your effort. Um, you have some pretty strong photographs in a few of them. Some of them are a little underexposed, um, and so their quality is in question. And then I wanted to talk a little bit more about the story itself and the plot. I appreciate what you wrote as far as your intent and what you were hoping to try to capture. When we look at the very first photograph in your series, it to me is more of a photograph of the gondolas and the sky ride that they have at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and less about the giraffe exhibit. And so I would encourage you to, if you can, go back up there and even mention that you're working on a school assignment and that you recently visited, and hopefully they might be able to give you free access to the zoo temporarily just to shoot or reshoot a few photographs, because as I mentioned, the first photograph that you have has a little bit of the giraffe exhibit, but it does not have a lot of the boardwalk and any of the giraffes in it. So if we're starting the story with that photograph, it would almost seem like you're talking more about the uh, sky ride and the gondola ride than um, anything about a giraffe exhibit, and that being your introduction to the story. Then there's some issues with clarity in the introduction to your story or the beginning of your story. Then, as we move into the other photographs, you have a young giraffe with several other giraffes in the background and more of the exhibit. So the second photograph's pretty decent. The third photograph with the giraffe closest to us and some of the railings separating us kind of shows different perspectives of where and how we can engage with the giraffes and the different sized giraffes that they have, different ages that they have. Um, the third one again shows kind of that connection and closeness to the giraffes, but really I don't get that the giraffe is being shy so much as that our perspective is being, um, you know, kind of interrupted, if you will, by the fence, and I don't really see the shy quality. I do like the fourth photograph where you're showing your petting of the giraffe and um, that you got the giraffe to come to you even though you didn't have crackers. And then the final one, we have a pretty close-up shot of a giraffe. And but here's the issue. It's kind of more of a documentary than a true story. There's really no clear um, crisis or resolved issue that takes place, antagonist, protagonist, anything like that. So when developing a story, we kind of have to, if you had gone with a younger sibling or a neighbor, or you even were able to tap into some of the young children that were there, and the story was about getting over fears of feeding a giraffe, and then kind of showing a child, um, trying to feed the giraffe with a cracker, and then maybe she starts or he starts to cry initially, and then we have the big purple prehensile tongue coming out and trying to grab the cracker from the child, and then the child starts to change their attitude and they begin to laugh and and then start to have fun with the whole idea of feeding the giraffe. Now our story is more about getting over fears and to experience pleasure, um, and that would be through the feeding of a giraffe, with a young child, um, I'm not quite sure that your story comes through with the images that you've captured. And if we got several different audience members to look at your story, would they be able to say that your story captures the day in the life of a giraffe, as you kind of mention in your, or a giraffe kind of life is what you're calling or titling your story. Um, you're kind of trying to take on that persona of the giraffe, but then we don't really even take first person perspective photographs from the giraffe's perspective, which would be kind of hard to capture. I mean, you certainly don't want to get inside the exhibit with them, but you could certainly kind of have it so that within the on the boardwalk, as you're taking the photographs, you might be able to get into a corner where you could be on the other side of the giraffes, looking from the giraffe's perspective back on to people that are uh, on the boardwalk, um, giving us that perspective that we're a giraffe. So it really does require further investigation and further development to really make this story become a rock solid execution of the idea. And that's part of this process. Part of this unit is to understand that once we have a problem before us, in this case, telling the story of a giraffe kind of life, if you will, since this is the problem that you've created, then do we really tell that story, and is it effective in only 6 images, seeking feedback from others, not just your instructor, but from family members and friends. And if it's not clear, or if we determine that there are issues that we need to resolve, then do we go out and resolve those and capture those images that we need to? All right, so pretty solid attempt. As I mentioned, I would say that you're in the partially proficient to proficient um, in execution. Some of your photographs have some quality issues, and then you certainly have some issues with voice and narrative. So I would say you are in the 2 to 2.5 range, which is a solid B. If you want to get an A, you would need to revise and resubmit your story with images that would really tell the story a little bit more thoroughly and concretely, and then show that you what you've done to resolve that, and even have evidence from feedback from others as to what they said and how they helped you with the solution. All right, good luck. Take care.